And we'd like your full attention and full alertness as we move into this next section of the program. Lee, I'm really excited to be meeting our next guest.
Well,
totally unlike any that we've had.
No more than myself, because if anybody says the word quantum anything to me, I go, yes. Only because of, my former life as an engineer and all the things that we study. And when somebody becomes a bridge between the kinds of sciences and the kind of spirituality we're teaching, I get very excited, and that's who we have today.
I know. And so we have Peter Shank joining us today. Peter, are you there?
I am.
Wonderful. Well, let's tell everyone about Peter.
Before we can tell you about Peter, I want to define something so that when I use a phrase, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the phrase is modern day mystic. That is the name of a powerful quantum energy-based software platform. Now, stay tuned. I don't want anybody to have their eyes glaze over just yet, because we are really talking about spirituality. Modern day mystic, that software, these are products that are developed by Peter, a spiritual visionary who left a successful career as a computer programmer for one of the world's largest banks to fulfill his mission to heal the world.
Now, based on research at the forefront of quantum physics, Peter devised a way to use technology to bridge the gap between science and consciousness. Now, I love that, Lee.
Yep.
I love that there's more bridging that gap between science and consciousness. Now, today, modern day mystic software helps thousands of users remove frequency patterns that have been standing in the way of achieving optimum health, happiness, and financial freedom.
Before creating modern day mystic, the software, Peter developed software to bolster the fortunes of one of the largest financial institutions on the planet. This is a man you want to know.
Yes.
But after a turning point in his spiritual awakening, does this sound familiar? He realized he was intended to serve a greater purpose.
Absolutely. And since that time, Peter's complete focus has been set on improving the fortune of humankind, helping to prepare humanity for the new age. I just love how much it feels he is in such service to all of us, and that's what it's all about. So, Peter, we are so delighted to hear from you.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. So, before we jump into my story, I typically love to do a water blessing with the crowd to kind of set the tone and the mood. So what you'll need is a glass of water, bottled water. I'd like you to raise your left hand over it about 3 inches and spread your fingers. And in a second, you're going to start to feel that energy run down through your hand into the water. Energy that is in physical form or non-physical form will do absolutely anything for you as long as you acknowledge its existence. Water is the most programmable material on the planet, and I use it in just about everything I do. So once you start to feel that energy run down through your hand, put your attention on the water and repeat these 8 magical words. I honor the space in which you exist. And what you feel is that energy flow increasing. It can be a straight up bolt of lightning. It can be little pin pricklies. It can be heat, or it can just be a direct channel. Next, I want you to notice the taste and the texture of water. It's completely different. That's good. It's very oily. It's smooth. Next, notice where it's moving inside your body. Very, very important. So, my story. Okay. So my entire background has been in engineering, computer engineering, and I worked for an investment bank for about 20 years. My wake-up experience happened in the early 2000s, okay? So what is the wake-up experience? Well, some people can take a lifetime to wake up. Some people can take decades. Some people never fully wake up. They are kind of semi-awake. My experience happened at the speed of thought. And prior to that moment, it's really important to understand who I was. I was a very different man back then, young, ambitious. I still am ambitious, just a little bit older today. But I was very self-absorbed. If you asked me what humility was, what being humble was, what being in service was, I had no idea. I had no idea. My whole thought process was about zeros and ones, black and white, yes or no. Did it make sense? If it didn't make sense, I had this analytical mind that I had grown for years and honed a skill set for one of the largest investment banks in the world, building all kinds of engineering platforms and doing, software projects and all kinds of everything technical. Now, in that type of environment, you get the best of the best. Their money is no object. They just throw it into equipment, technology, and everything. So I had always been kind of interested a little bit in UFOs, but I never really knew what spirituality was or this path that I'm currently on. I have no idea. One day in the early 2000s, I was working on something. It was a Saturday afternoon. And the only way to describe my wake up experience was if you could see the whole world in black and white with your eyes, at the next second, everything was high def color. And for about 6 weeks, I thought I had gone completely insane. I was seeing energy, movement, patterns of recognition in everything. And I didn't know what was happening to me. But I knew this: I was better becoming whatever I was becoming than once I came, because I was like a child. A child sees the world as magic up until about 8 months, right? And then conditioning starts. And that conditioning, we forget who and what we were. And I was becoming this child again. Everything had magic in it. And what I quickly realized was I was being given a toolbox to help people in ways that I never dreamed of. I had this metaphysical mind that started growing at this exponential rate. And what did I do? I started doing energy sessions with people. I could see the energy, I could see the blockages. And I was like this 800-pound gorilla. I had this massive bandwidth back to source, and I could remove it easily with water. And what I found was, these people weren't coming back for more sessions. And I was still working my day job, by the way. And I was like, what is going on? And what was happening was I was moving so much high vibrational energy through them that they were having horrible detoxes, for, 3 or 4 days at a time. And that wasn't a good business model. So I had to change it. So sometime in around 2004, I saw the work of Dr. Emoto. And I saw this video on YouTube, and he took a glass of water and he wrote the Japanese symbol of love on a piece of tape, and he taped it to the glass, and he started moving frequencies through it in the form of music. And a few minutes later, when he pulled the tape back, the water had restructured itself on the inside to form the Japanese symbol for love. I was blown away. This man was onto something. So I knew that I could write a computer program that would look beautiful. And I knew, based on the skill sets that I had that were growing, I could extrapolate the intention of anything in existence pretty much at the speed of thought. But I didn't have the vehicle to move the intention from the software into the water. And then it kind of hit me. It was the quantum realm. So today quantum is kind of a buzzword. Everyone throws it around, quantum this, quantum that. But back in the early days, you could read the scientific books on quantum reality. And coming from an engineering background, on a mathematical level, it made sense, but it didn't make sense for what I was trying to do. It had to be simpler. So what I discerned was that if you are intuitive and you have a belief system that everything in existence is made up of energy, and that energy is all interconnected, then that interconnectedness is actually the quantum realm. It's a place where only your consciousness exists simultaneously. The past moves around us all the time, and the future moves around us all the time. And you can be nowhere or you can be everywhere. So with that basic concept, I derived an algorithm with the first version of the software, which was called Aquaware at the time. And it was really simple. You would select an intention and you'd hit the go, and geometry would move on the screen, and you would direct your intention into the water. And you only have to put your attention on the water for a second. And then at the time, I think 81 seconds later, the water would be programmed with the intention. So the first version of the software was born on July 4th, 2007. And at the time, it had 180 selectable intents. So over time, as the software grew and became more sophisticated, there were other pieces of software that were spun from it. The source, which was a program that would take the Achilles heel out of manifesting. So if you read about anything, the ancient scripts, right? They all tell you if you want to manifest something, all you have to do is think about it, right? Get all the detail in your head, and then you release it to the universe. The universe comes by, picks it up, brings it upstream in your reality, and starts creating these energetic pathways to bring it into fruition. But what they don't tell you is that the time by which it's released and it's starting to form, if you have any doubt or any low vibrations, the thought form is destroyed, you have to start over. So traditional manifesting is really cool in theory, but in practical application, it doesn't work. So what I did was I developed technology in the form of software that takes that Achilles heel out of it, right? So you are consciously directing the light frequencies of into the water. You drink the water, which is now impregnated with the thing you want to bring into fruition. It goes into the body, instantly starts coming out of the body on what we call light rays. The universe comes by, picks it up in the light rays, brings it upstream. So as the technology progressed, I was still working at the bank. So I was, computer nerd by day and Indiana Jones and Neo at night, pushing the envelope of what was possible. And, more ideas started coming. So I started, my toolbox started growing. So this is how the game is played. Okay. I am on a path. And when I started this journey, I said to the universe, come hell or high water, I am going to have blinders on like this. I'm not going to listen to what anybody else is doing anywhere. I'm going to carve a path through solid rock and bring ancient knowledge into the modern day with a futuristic design. So if you look at everything that I've created in the form of energetic sessions to workshops to a whole several lines of physical products, and I'll get to those in a second, and then the software, it all represents past being ancient in a modern day context put together with state-of-the-art technology, metallurgy, and fabrication processes in a futuristic design. So people ask me, how did you start on this path? Well, I had my wake-up experience. I truly believe I was groomed for exactly where I am and whatever I'm going to become in the future. I was given the genetic mind to extrapolate large bits of information and move them into a working process and then design something for the public in the form of a product for market. So it always starts with a bit of information. So if you're driving to work and you let someone out, it's like, you're stuck in traffic and you let someone out. What does it take? It takes 3 seconds from you and you just made that guy's day. That's positive karma. Comes back 1,000-fold, right? Mm-hmm. You smile at somebody, you get involved. And once you have the ability, just by doing these little things, by spreading more love and light in the world, and ultimately that's what we're here to do, the universe takes notice and you're given a piece of information. Okay, and that can come in any form. And what you do with that information determines if you move to a higher octave, a higher way of being, a higher learning level, right? So ultimately, you have to unlearn everything you have ever learned for the real learning to begin. So I had to let go of all of my old self in order to, gain mastery in my craft. And so the more I move down this path, right, it's never like you can have a conversation with a human and talk about ideas and whatever. like an ascended master, an archangel, a deity would never appear in the physical, because you have not earned the wisdom to be able to wield that type of power or information. So what they do is you're led through an experience. And in the experience is where you truly learn. And as you're learning, you're gaining wisdom. So I remember a time back in 2006, okay? I was experimenting with gold. And I would take 10 grams of gold and I would drop it in this highly volatile, extremely lethal concoction of 1 part nitric acid, 3 parts hydrochloric acid. And that is called aqua regia. And aqua regia will dissolve any platinum group metal. And the idea was to use sacred geometry to, increase that by a factor of 100. So once it's all dissolved, you have to use formic acid to neutralize the hydrochloric acid, and it goes through this crazy chemical. And I know from past experiences in schooling that whenever there is an energetic release, energy is going somewhere. So I had to invoke that chemical reaction based on temperature. So sometimes I would stick it in the microwave for like 15 seconds, and I'd run down before this crazy chemical reaction happened. And I would put it on sacred geometry. Beautiful. I used to print it at a plotter at work and flip it out the back. And, just this massive. And what I was being put through, it's not that the experiments were ever very successful, because clearly I wouldn't be doing this if they were. It was the knowledge, it was the processes, it was the work, it was the experience to gain wisdom that I punched a hole in something called the 0 point based on sacred geometry. So what the hell is the 0 point? I don't know, but I knew this intuitively. I could push something through the 0 point and gain something back. And that showed me an entire new level of thinking, where we have an infinite amount of realities around us all the time. And the only thing that is constant in those realities is the weight of matter, energetic matter. It has to remain constant. So the idea was to push this chemical expansion through the 0 point and get gold back. Okay, so I went through the experience, never used it again until 2015. Okay, I had reached a 20-year career, successful career with a bank, and it was time for me to leave. And now I wanted to start creating physical products. Okay, I've never manufactured anything. I've been writing software my whole life. It's easy. You compile it, you throw it out in the world, and it just carbon copies itself. But physical products were a whole thing. So what did I do? I Googled it. How do I create a physical product? And I put my name out there, and 3 days later, all the lawyers started calling me. Oh, you need to patent it here. You need to patent it there. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I just left one job with, $50 in my pocket, wink, wink. And, I got to manufacture something. So it's going to cost me money. So the knowledge that I had learned from those experiments, and this is only one example of hundreds that I have been put through, that now I wanted to revolutionize an industry. So how would you do that? Well, driving sucks, right? When you're 16 and you get your driver's license, again, the world is magical, right? Everything is magical until years later. Now you're an adult, and it's I'm stuck in traffic. I'm gonna have my coffee. I gotta go to the bathroom. Road rage, whatever. So I created a product called the HFA, Harmonic Field Amplifier, a new way to travel, based on the knowledge that I had learned years before. And that basically was to take all negativity in your vehicle and the immediately surrounding area, washing it through a 0 point and returning it at the speed of thought as pristine energy. And you know what? It worked beautifully. So I wanted to create these devices out of platinum and gold, noble metals. Well, no one's going to spend 25 grand on something that's not proven. So, okay, copper came into my mind. Copper has been used since time immemorial for all kinds of things. We use it in pipes to get rid of bacteria, blah, blah, blah. Silver would create, so the copper would attract the negativity, and the silver would stabilize and create the field, okay? So on the top of the HFA, which is in its second generation now. I use the Fibonacci sequence because it's found everywhere in nature. And on the back, we laser engraved the 7 sisters of the Palladium star system. Well, you know what? As science fiction-y as it sounds, I have over 1,000 written and video testimonials on my website to the effects of the products and the services that I do. Now, since that, in 5 years, I've done 80 other physical product launches. Okay, so as you create and you push these products into the world, okay, you're spreading more love and light. So you're giving access to higher levels of information. So then I wanted to create an I am line. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. So most people think when they really don't know what I am is. So when you say the words I am, you are invoking all of creation to take notice of you. And then you follow it up with a direction. I am love, I am purpose, I am source, I am healthy. But what people don't know is it's actually a pyramid. And in the bottom of the pyramid is where the refinement happens. And as you refine your craft, as you refine these techniques, things become more powerful. So I want to read you a quick statement. And I just want you to close your eyes and listen to this statement. This is off of the I Am bracelet line. There's 13 of them, and each one has a beautifully written mantra. Okay, so just close your eyes for a second and envision this. I am energy, my own unit of power, dynamic, driven, and passionate. I have the strength and vitality for sustained physical and mental activity. I accept universal energy as it runs freely through me. To the universe, I give back energy, unifying me with divinity. I am aware of my energy flow and the flow of energy I put forth in the universe. I am energy. Open your eyes. How do you feel? So, do you want to drive a car? Do you want to drive a Ferrari on a dirt road? Or you want to get out on the German Autobahn and drive it? So as I refined the I Ams and the I Am bracelet collection was released, there were 13 symbols that came with it. And what I had learned, again, in the past was that everything in existence has a true name. And if you can extrapolate that true name, you can have power over its dominion for the light. And true names can come in the form of symbols, spoken tones, music, words, pretty much anything. So I created the I Am pyramids and the I Am bracelets. And then because I had done the work to get those out into the universe and start helping people in ways that they interact with them, I was given plans to create something else. So about 3 years ago, I wanted to create, like Harry Potter wands. And I was kind of like, but I was never given the full plans to do it until I had gone through the work and shown and gained the wisdom that I could create something like Vita Navitas, literal translation, healing, universal energy. So these are a pair of wands, and it's kind of hard to see, but they all have the I Am symbols on the silver bands. And then we have, lab grown beautiful crystals in a certain color sequence on them. And, to create this 20 years ago, I'd be out of my mind. I couldn't be able to do it because I had to go through the process to bring it. So, in the realm of creating, I came out with 2 product lines called the Terra Resonators. Okay. And the first line was beautiful, but I gained so much knowledge in the first line and I shut it down and created a second line. And basically it was a lab-grown quartz crystal plate with laser engraving, fueled by sacred geometry, moldavite, and whatever you place on top of it once it's activated would vibrate anything in 33 seconds. So you could put food on there, you could put wine on there, take the acidity right out of wine. You could put your supplements on there, your medications, your face cream, limited only by your imagination. I create the toolbox and then you run with it. You're given unlimited ability. So the Terra Resonator line, a byproduct of that was manifestation. So we found out that you could write a manifestation on a piece of paper, put it on the TR, and, at some point it would come into fruition. But what I was learning at the time too is, people were writing it really pretty on a piece of paper and folding it up. I'm like, no. You need to be bold. You need ancient parchment paper. You need a big, bold black Sharpie. I am in the perfect relationship. You need to command these things, right? So that was like another level. And then the wishing sphere line was born. Simplification of all of this spiritual technology. Okay. So this guy here is what we call the Wishing Sphere XL. And I've done videos on this. I'm not going to get too much into it, but basically, once she is activated, so this is how you learn, right? So when these went out into the world, whenever I release a product in the world, I give it a little bit of a instruction set on how to use it, and then I wait for people to start coming back. And within 3 days, someone came back and said, I started making wishes for somebody else. And all of a sudden, I started making wishes for myself, and they started coming into fruition. So that instantly sparked and resonated with me. I was like, oh my God, because in my belief system, everything has consciousness, and that consciousness is all childlike, the wellspring by the primordial ooze that everything flows. And so, we did an updated video, and we were like, look, to get the best out of your wishing sphere is you want to make a dozen wishes for everybody else and then start making wishes for yourself. See how the learning process works? It's out in the world. It's spreading more love and light. And then all of a sudden, all this new information just starts coming in.
So, Peter, I'm going to say we are close to the end. And you are truly a modern day mystic.
Absolutely. And we're part of your experiment. I love that.
This is right. And
I love that enthusiasm.
I want to tell our audience, the replays are available. Replays are available. Listen and listen and listen. If some of this is over your head, I want you to understand what's going on here. Modern day mystic, he's talking about alchemy. I mean, he started with gold, trying to do certain kinds of things. This is this belongs in our field. It is part of the healing energies, and he's giving you some gold here, and I mean by that metaphorically. I want to just, before we run out of time, I want you to tell folks where they can find these things, learn more about these things, and find you.
Sure. So the nexus of everything modern day mystic is at moderndaymystic.com. Mm-hmm. And on there, you'll find everything I'm talking about in different pillars. So we have a section for different types of workshops that I've done in the past. We have a section for energetic sessions that I offer. They're one-on-ones with me. We have a section called Aqua Sync, which is now the software that has evolved into a 6th generation. It's no longer downloadable. It's now on a SaaS platform, software as a service, meaning you can run it on any device, anywhere, anytime with a web browser and a data connection. And it's also on a subscription service, a very low monthly subscription service, and you get everything for that. You can call the phone number, which is on the website. I don't have an answering service. I pick up the phone every time it rings because I've always felt that, years and years and years ago, I made a conscious decision to not advertise on any medium. I did a couple times in the beginning, and then I stopped because my ROI was not there. So I decided to invest in customer excellence and product R&D. So when people call that number, I will pick up. Mm-hmm. And I love having conversations with people. Mm-hmm. So moderndaymystic.com is the nexus of everything I am, and that's where you can get a hold of me.
I want to also just remind folks, and I know we're kind of out of time, but you're the third guest who's mentioned Emoto. Masaru Emoto was a crystallographer. He was a scientist who stumbled into the fact that consciousness changed the physics of water. And Peter has mentioned it, it's been mentioned before. Do you see that there is really, truly reality and energy around consciousness? And so it just makes absolute sense that as a player in energy, that it would relate to the physical world, to the quantum world. And I think that's right where Peter is showing us how then this bridge can be made, and the products that he has really do apply.
And I love the playfulness of the products. I mean, I have a big imagination and delight in child products and things, and the Harry Potter wand and the wishing well, the wishing sphere, and the throw away the little furry fancy writing things, write it in bold. These are absolute gems for us to never forget that we are here to play, have fun, and why I said that we're part of your experiment is because we're connected in that quantum field. And everything that you do and creating these magic wishing stones and everything else, it filters, we feel it, consciously or not. We're part of the
it's
field.
It's high technology with consciousness. Peter, I'll give you the last word here, and then we'll close.
You know, if you decide to step in this world, step into it with a light heart and a childlike energy. And when you have the ability to step outside your comfort zone, because your consciousness is in a box, that's your comfort zone. When you get stressed out, you build it a little bit thicker and the wall's a little bit thicker. But if you have the foresight to step outside your comfort zone for 1 second, and the hardest part is just taking the first step, the entire universe will support you in a playground that you cannot fathom. You just can't.
Awesome.
Childlike, magical, and absolutely beautiful.
Childlike magic. Thank you, Peter. Thank you. This has been very different for many, and very, to me, very succinct with what I believe and what I teach, and very much into the circle of 12, where we literally step into a multidimensional place. All right.
Time for a break.
Yes.
Take a break, everyone. We'll see you in 10 minutes.